Today, we're cracking open the file on one of the most mysterious and honestly terrifying cold cases you'll ever hear about. It's the kind of story that just totally shatters that cozy illusion of safety we all have. Now, as we go through the evidence from our source material today, you're going to want to pay close attention to the details, because let me tell you, in this case, absolutely nothing is what it seems. So, let's step into the shadows and unpack the crimson mark of betrayal.
Picture this: 3 completely different people just vanish into thin air. We're not talking about runaways here, and this definitely wasn't your classic kidnapping for money. There was 0 ransom notes, no overlapping victimology at all connecting their personal lives, just an empty space where these folks used to be, and one single, terrifying symbol left behind at the crime scenes. It's basically the ultimate mystery box, a puzzle with half the pieces missing that threw an entire city's police department into an absolute panic.
Okay, let's dive into this timeline, because the pacing of these crimes, it's chilling. It all kicks off on March 12th. Daniel Brooks, just a totally regular guy who owns a pharmacy, locks up his shop for the night and never makes it home. They find his car abandoned by the side of the road, his phone is dead, and there's absolutely no trace of him. Then, exactly 3 weeks later, the nightmare repeats itself. Michael Turner, a local school teacher, goes missing under the exact same circumstances. Person gone, phone dead, no ransom. Fear is really starting to grip the city at this point. And then, shortly after that, strike 3. Sophia Reed, a highly driven journalist, leaves her office and simply never arrives home. So at this point, law enforcement has to face a really terrifying reality. These aren't isolated incidents. They're dealing with a highly organized serial perpetrator.
When investigators started digging into the victims' lives, they found literally only one physical link between them. The media quickly started calling it the Red Circle case. And why? Well, because a mysterious, small red circle was found painted right next to the doors of all 3 victims' homes. It was drawn almost like this sinister signature, or maybe a target, and nobody had a clue what it meant. Was it some bizarre cult? A gang? Just one deranged individual? This symbol was the only clue they had, and it felt like it was just mocking them.
But then, the investigation takes this deeply heartbreaking and honestly bizarre turn. Enter Emma. She's the 8-year-old daughter of Sophia Reed, the missing journalist. One day, this poor little girl walks right into the police station. The officers try to gently ask her if she saw anything, but Emma is completely traumatized. She's in this state of selective mutism brought on by severe shock, and she hasn't spoken a single word since her mom vanished. She totally refuses to speak, but instead she silently makes one very simple request. She just asks for a piece of paper and a pencil.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happened next. Day after day, Emma just sits there in the station, drawing. Now at first, it's just a simple house and a tree, with a figure standing in the window, and, chillingly, a red circle drawn right above the door. But every single day the drawing evolves. The next day, a river appears next to the house. The day after that, she draws a broken bridge. And finally, this large signal tower looms in the background of her sketch. The officers were totally baffled by this. They had scoured the entire city, and a property matching this exact description, the river, the broken bridge, the signal tower, it simply did not exist anywhere within city limits. So where in the world was this kid seeing this place?
Now, while the detectives are pulling their hair out over Emma's drawings, a massive breakthrough happens over in the digital forensics lab. They actually uncover a hidden pattern in the victim's phone metadata. Because, in modern forensics, your call records leave a permanent digital footprint. They found out that right before each of the 3 victims disappeared, they all received a phone call from the exact same unknown number. And the duration of every single one of those calls? Exactly 13 seconds. Not 12, not 14, exactly 13 seconds.
So what exactly was happening on those 13-second calls? Well, it actually wasn't what was said that cracked a case. It was what was heard. These were super brief connections, no lengthy conversations. In fact, barely any talking at all. But when audio specialists ran those files through a spectral analysis to isolate the different tracks, they found a massive clue. Hidden behind the static, there was this distinct, heavy background noise, the absolute, unmistakable, rhythmic chugging of a train.
And suddenly, boom, it all clicks together. The investigators take Emma's drawings and lay them right next to the audio profile of those 13-second calls. Think about it.
Train sounds, plus a broken bridge, plus a signal tower. It equaled a location that wasn't in the city at all. It pointed directly to an old abandoned railway line miles outside the city limits, just this forgotten stretch of track that had been shut down for years, complete with a rusted-out signal tower and a dilapidated bridge crossing an old river. So, heavily armed police tactical units completely rush this forgotten location. And, deep in the dense, overgrown trees, they find it. An old, isolated house. And, right there on the door, kind of gleaming in the darkness, is a red circle. They literally break the door down and sweep the pitch-dark interior. Inside one of the rooms, they finally find the victim's personal belongings. We're talking watches, bags, their dead mobile phones. But the house is eerily silent. There are no bodies anywhere.
But as they keep searching, the super faint sound starts echoing from beneath the floorboards. Down in the pitch-black basement, they find Michael Turner, the missing school teacher. He's barely alive, severely weakened, just trembling. And when the officers ask him who did this, who's coming back, Michael looks up at them with just absolute terror in his eyes and whispers this incredibly chilling warning. He paints the circle first, then takes people. This absolutely wasn't some crime of passion. This was a highly organized offender who was marking his prey way in advance. He was studying them, hunting them.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the horrifying logical gap it exposes. The police have the location, they actually have a survivor, and they know the killer's hunting method. But I want you to ask yourself this deeply unsettling question. How did 8-year-old Emma know how to draw this highly specific abandoned house? It was miles outside the city. She had never been there in her entire life. How on earth could a completely silent child sketch the killer's lair with such perfect photographic accuracy?
The answer to that literally impossible question, and the true identity of the monster they were hunting, was actually found right inside that house. Digging through the belongings, police recovered Sophia Reed's old digital camera. As a journalist, she had obviously been investigating something on her own time. So the technicians power it up and play the final, harrowing video file on the device. The shaky footage shows Sophia secretly following someone in the shadows. And you can actually hear her voice on the tape, this harsh, terrified whisper, saying, "I know who you are."
And then, the ultimate betrayal unfolds. On the video, the camera pans, the figure turns around, and for just one single agonizing second, the flashlight catches the man's face. The officers watching this tape freeze in absolute stunned horror. Because the face looking back at them, it wasn't a stranger. It was Detective Ryan Cole, an officer on their very own investigating team. You know, in criminal psychology, perpetrators will sometimes insert themselves into investigations just to maintain control. But this was a whole new level of twisted. Emma knew about the house because the man who took her mother was the exact same detective assigned to comfort her at the station.
Which leaves us with a truly profound and honestly horrifying realization. The safest people sometimes hide in the most dangerous places. But maybe, in the case of Detective Cole, it was the most dangerous person hiding in the safest possible place, right behind a badge, inside the very room where people came for help. It really forces us to ask, how well do we actually know the people we trust to protect us? I hope this explainer gave you a deep, clear understanding of how this incredible case from the source material unfolded. Keep questioning what you see, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.